Alaska, the last frontier, the Great White North. Home to more coastline than the rest of the United States combined, Alaska is a land of wilderness and adventure. It is a bucket list destination for so many people, and one of the most popular ways to see the state is by taking an Alaska cruise. Join us as we embark on a 7-day Alaska cruise with Princess Cruise Lines, heading south from Anchorage to the magnificent glaciers of Glacier Bay National Park and on through Alaska's Southeast Passage, which is known as one of the most scenic stretches of coastline in the world. We explore the ports of Skagway, Juneau, and Ketchikan before finally arriving in Vancouver, British Columbia. Now, before we get into this 7-day Alaska cruise recap, we wanted to let you know that we have made detailed videos of each part of this journey, including the embarkation process, a full ship tour, and what to do in each port. We will link those videos in the description along with our whole Alaska playlist, so be sure to check out those videos as well. Most likely, you'll be flying into the city of Anchorage, Alaska's largest city. There is no cruise terminal in Anchorage. Instead, you will be sailing out of one of the 2 cruise ports, Whittier or Seward. Our cruise left from Whittier, which was about an hour-and-a-half bus ride. There are a few different options, but we booked our bus through Park Connection. If you're looking for a more adventurous way to reach the cruise port, you can take the Alaska Railroad to reach Whittier. We headed southeast along Turnagain Arm, which hugs the coastline and is a very beautiful drive. After about an hour, we passed through the 2.5-mile one-way tunnel into Whittier. This tunnel is only open to traffic on every hour, and the rest of the time it is used by the railroad, so yes, your bus will be driving down the train tracks. After leaving this crazy tunnel, we caught our first glimpse of the cruise ship. We are cruising on the Grand Princess for this trip, which is the sister ship of the Star Princess and the Golden Princess. So if you're sailing on any of those ships, the layout will be pretty much the same. We checked in and boarded our ship, but we covered that whole embarkation process in one of our other videos, so be sure to check that out if you want more information. We also received our Princess medallions at this point, which acted as our room keys and were used for any onboard purchases. We left the port around 9:30 p.m., and even though it was early in the cruising season, it was still light out this late at night. Sailing through Prince William Sound was breathtaking with all the snow-covered mountains. Now, there are a ton of cruise itineraries that vary in port and schedule, but ours started out with 2 days of scenic cruising. After leaving Whittier, we made our way south to Glacier Bay National Park. We arrived early in the morning, and the ship spent about 8 hours cruising around to different glaciers. There is no option to get off the boat with this type of cruise here. The area is not developed and is very rugged, but just looking at the scenery from the ship was amazing. We were lucky and spotted some wildlife along the shore, and even saw a bald eagle perched on an iceberg. I don't think it gets more Alaskan than that. We spent these 2 days on board exploring the ship and getting oriented to all the entertainment and dining options, and let me tell you, there are a lot of them. There are 3 main dining rooms, a variety of grab-and-go options, specialty coffee and dessert shops, and of course, a huge buffet. In addition to those 3 main dining rooms, there are 11 other bars and restaurants and 7 lounges, so plenty of options. The Princess app can be utilized to make dining reservations, see itineraries, show times, and pretty much do anything else you need to do while on board. We spent some time checking out the different pools and hot tubs and relaxing on the ship these first few days. On day 3, we reached our first port of the trip, Skagway. This was our first opportunity to get off the ship since embarking in Whittier, and we decided to book an excursion on the White Pass Yukon Scenic Railroad. The railroad line was built to reach the goldfields of the Klondike and takes you from the sea level, climbing up to an elevation of 2,865 feet. It reaches the top of White Pass, which lays on the Canadian border. The scenery was amazing as we left town and climbed up the ridgeline, passing several tunnels and over bridges, making our way up the side of the mountain. This is a narrow gauge railroad, meaning that the tracks are only 3 feet wide, and the railroad ties are only 10 feet wide. You really feel like you're hugging the mountain at times, and the cliffs seem very, very close. We passed waterfalls and an old collapsed railroad bridge before making our way up to the snow-covered top of the mountain. We had a bit of time after the railroad to explore Skagway, so we walked around, checked out a free museum, and stopped into the Red Onion, a historic brothel that has now been turned into a restaurant. The next port was Juneau. There are lots of things to do in Juneau. It's the 2nd largest city in Alaska, and we've actually been to this town a few different times. Whale watching is one of the best excursions you can book, and at the right time of the year, the whale encounters are insane. We booked with Juneau Tours and Whale Watch, and they pick you right up from the cruise ship and take you out to Ayuk Bay, where you will settle on a small boat. We saw about a dozen humpback whales all swimming together, some of which got so close to our boat. So close that we even got sneezed on.
Oh, smell the air, smell the air. We're gonna sneeze on.
After whale watching, we made our way to Mendenhall Glacier. You can see the glacier from a distance, but unfortunately you can't reach it on foot as the glacier has receded quite a bit. You can, however, see Nugget Falls, which is definitely worth the short hike. If you have extra time and enjoy history, consider heading over to Treadwell Ruins, a former mining town on Douglas Island, just on the outskirts of town. The next port was Ketchikan. Ketchikan is the first major city you will reach entering Alaska from the south, and at one point was a customs hub for loggers, trappers, and fishermen. It is famous for its picturesque Creek Street with colorful buildings hanging over the water right in the middle of town. We found a walking tour through Ketchikan on foot that included exploring the town with husky sled dogs, and we just had to book it. Scarlett and Quinn were our furry tour guides as we walked around exploring areas of Ketchikan that we never would have found on our own. We learned about the history of the town and what it is like living in this remote area of Alaska. We were told all about the different salmon runs that made this town famous and saw a salmon ladder that helped the fish get upstream to spawn. We then made our way to Creek Street, which was originally filled with brothels, but now they have all been turned into restaurants and gift shops. We couldn't leave town without getting some freshly made seafood chowder at Annabelle's, a famous Ketchikan restaurant. After getting back on the ship, we settled in for one more full day at sea before making our way to our final destination of Vancouver. This Alaska cruise was so much fun, and we understand why it is such a dream trip for so many. If you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer. Also, don't forget to check out all the videos we made from this trip, as well as our videos from a few years ago exploring Denali National Park, Talkeetna, and Anchorage. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy travelers, peace out.